Hello, people. Welcome back to another episode of Chad Marco Anime Review Show. I'm your host, Chad Marco, and today we have the much requested, long awaited anime review for K-On! Apparently K-On! Stands for light music, and we'll go into that later. But yeah, I asked on the community board what anime. Oh, excuse me for a second. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But I asked on the community board which anime did people want me to review next, and surprisingly, I got like 2 or 3 requests for K-On! And since that's 1 or 2 more votes than all the other shows that were suggested, I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and watch K-On! I was kind of surprised. I figured somebody would suggest something more action oriented, but I digress. And so I went ahead and I watched K-On! And now I'm going to do the review. So let's get a little bit into some of the details about what K-On! Actually is. So K-On! Is a slice of life / music / comedy anime. So it's not about summoning demons or powering up and dabbing on your opponents. It's very much in line with the whole concept of, cute girls doing cute things and getting involved in all kinds of comedic hijinks and whatnot. But there's also a somewhat significant emphasis on music as well, since that's their chosen activity or hobby that connects the main characters. But K-On! Aired in about in 2009, and it was written and illustrated by Kakafly, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I checked my anime list, and right now it's currently ranked 813 out of all the animes. So that's shit. That's not bad. And also, it seems that the series received the Best TV Animation Award at the 2010 Tokyo International Anime Fair. So it's kind of a prestigious anime we got here. But let's go ahead and talk about the plot, shall we? So K-On! Begins with the introduction of Yui Hirasawa. She is a young teenage girl ready to embark on a new journey into the world of high school as a freshman. Now, Yui is kind of an aloof slacker who has never really excelled at anything or put much effort into life, but after a little bit of an encouragement from her friend Nodoka, and her warning Yui that she could end up becoming a NEET if she doesn't take school more seriously, she aims to join an after-school club in order to fully immerse herself into the life of a responsible, active, and hard-working student. Now, meanwhile, best friends Ritsu and Mio are also trying to decide which club they want to join, with Ritsu forcefully suggesting the K-On! Or Light Music Club. However, with only the 2 of them, they don't meet the club's requirement of having at least 4 active members. So now they have to recruit 2 more people in order to keep the Light Music Club alive. In walks Mugi, who really wanted to join the choir club, but agrees to join them instead once she sees how funny and friendly they are, which leaves only 1 spot left. Now, this ultimately brings us back to Yui, who, after having a flashback to when she was participating in simple music fun as a toddler and receiving praise for it, she decides that she will join the Light Music Club. The problem is she doesn't know how to play any instruments. But despite this, the other 3 are so desperate to keep the club alive, they try to convince her to stay even if she doesn't do anything. But in the end, once they demonstrate for Yui one short set of them playing music together, she finally fully commits to joining and participating in the light music club, and thus begins their quest to eat snacks and relax as much as possible while half-assing their musical obligations. And I'm not kidding. So yeah, basically, again, it's a very lighthearted comedy slice of life type show. So the plot isn't necessarily thick or brimming with intrigue and plot twists and things of that nature. Each episode, while, you know, there is a certain level of continuity in terms of how it progresses through their high school career, each episode kind of has its own little goofy primary plot that the girls have to deal with. Now, typically, it has something to do with them being involved in the music club, of course. But like I said, they don't really... going into it, I thought maybe that there would be a stronger emphasis on them taking the music seriously. But I learned the hard way that that's not really the case. This really is, kind of a very... not so serious take on the light music club. But let's get to the characters next, shall we? So the first character is, of course, Yui Hirasawa. So Yui is the main character of K-On!, as well as the guitarist and vocalist for the light music club's band, After School Tea Time. I really don't like that name. That name. It's appropriate given the fact that that's all they do. But I'm not a fan of that name. Maybe it rolls off the tongue better in Japanese. But I would say Yui is the face of the band more or less, but her personality isn't really reflective of that position. First of all, she's pretty lazy and irresponsible. She doesn't like to work very hard, is easily distracted, clumsy, and is overall presented as being the lovable moron of the group. I hate to say it like that, but that's pretty much what she is. One of the running gags with her is that she has a sister who, despite being younger, is actually more dependable than Yui and is often tasked with taking care of her or making sure she does things like getting up in time for school and whatnot. And initially, because of her silly behavior, some of the other girls are a bit put off by her, but over time, she ends up fitting right in because, spoiler alert, none of them take being in the music club all that serious to begin with. That being said, because of the nature of this anime, which is primarily comedy, her goofy disposition only ends up making her more endearing rather than being an annoyance, since, as you'll come to see, most of the girls have a negative quirk or two that contributes to the hijinks and fun of the show. So the next character is Ritsu Tanaka. Now, Ritsu is the drummer of the band as well as the club's president. She and Mio were the first two to decide to join the club because they always had aspirations of being in a band together, or at least Ritsu did. Mio is more of a follower, but Ritsu is probably the most headstrong out of the girls. She's kind of a loudmouth and always wants to be at the forefront when it comes to decision making, and I think it has more to do with her character than just the fact that she's club president. She is the best friend of Mio, who is much more timid and reserved by comparison. So because of their sort of oil and water like personality difference, they tend to have an overall good chemistry with one another, with Ritsu consistently prodding at Mio's weaknesses and known insecurities to get her worked up and out of her cool. But Ritsu brings a good energy to the overall group dynamic. Even though she can be kind of a jerk at times, you kind of need someone to be that outgoing, energetic force that can disrupt the peace and move things forward. So the next character is probably my favorite, to be honest. Mio Akiyama. Mio plays the bass and is also a vocalist for the band. Mio is probably the most mature and cool-headed of the girls. Well, at least on the surface layer. Out of just about everyone, she's one of the few who seems to actually take the club activities seriously. Oftentimes being the only one opting to invest serious effort and time into practice and preparation, while the others would rather sit around goofing off and eating delicious snacks. As I said before, on the surface, she appears to be very cool, but she's actually quite sensitive and insecure, and anyone who knows how to push her buttons can get her to completely lose herself in her emotions. One of the running gags with her is that she's easily spooked by the paranormal or anything even remotely creepy. She's also deathly afraid of being embarrassed in public, which is actually part of the reason why she takes the music more seriously than the others. That seriousness, I believe, is actually fueled by an obvious fear of failure and humiliation. Now that I think about it too, I think yeah, Mio is definitely my favorite. She's definitely my favorite out of the main girls. I think her character has that tiny extra bit of depth that makes her funny bits not only humorous but also somewhat understandable. And next we have Smoogie. Is it Smoogie or Smoogie? They call her Moogie in the show, but her full name is Smoogie. Smoogie Kotobuki. Moogie is the keyboard player of the band as well as the snack coordinator. So Moogie actually comes from a rich family, which she is kind of hesitant to wear on her sleeves, giving off the impression that she would rather distance herself from the privileges of being wealthy so that she can be viewed as an ordinary girl. She never flaunts her wealth, but it always ends up being a factor. Like when they were able to get Yui the expensive guitar because Moogie's family owned the musical instrument franchise selling them. Moogie really has the least standout personality out of the entire group, I would say. She always seems to be content just hanging out in the background and is never the one to cause any waves or problems within the group. A real go with the flow type of person. If it's time to practice, she's down. If it's time to chill and eat snacks, she's down to do that too. In fact, she probably supplied the damn snacks, but low key now, Moogie might be the most disruptive element of the band. Because I swear, she's always the main one bringing cakes and snacks and chips and tea around. Then everyone just wants to eat and have fun. Like, just imagine you have a band and then the front man is just wild and crazy and known for being a drug addict, cocaine head or something. Everybody's looking at him like he's the problem, but they don't know the quiet keyboard player that's introverted. He's the one that's bringing all the cocaine. That's Moogie. She's the one that's supplying the fucking drugs and keeping everybody distracted. So, last but not least, we have Azusa Nakano. Azza. They say it a lot faster in the anime. But she is also a guitar player. So Asusa is actually the final member to join the band. She joined as a freshman after the other girls had already been together for over a whole year now. Because she is a newbie as well as a freshman, the dynamic was initially that of a Kohai Senpai situation where she was expecting to join a club full of serious musicians, but then quickly discovered that they spend more time goofing off than actually doing anything productive. Now, at first, she was put off by this, being a more serious student of music herself. But after a short while, she came to embrace the sort of light-hearted, whimsical approach that they had towards music creation, because in the end, they always manage to do just enough to have good school shows and keep the club alive, as well as maintaining a good friendship and positive environment for each other. But still, her character is kind of funny because viewers of the show have always made fun of the fact that the group as a whole is too lazy, and Asa is like that voice of reason that calls them out on it when they don't even realize how distracted they are by all the delicious snacks that Mugi, the drug peddler, has brought. We have some honorable mentions here as well. There's Norika Manabe, who is the student council president and a good friend of Yui. And Yui Hirasawa, they have like the same name really. It's like Yui is Yui and her sister is Ui, but it's both Yui. Whatever, but yeah, that's Yui's responsible younger sister. And then there's Sawako Yamanaka, who was actually the former Light Club band member back in her day, and now she's the music teacher. She kind of acts as an OG for the girls and kind of guides them along in terms of developing their band and giving them advice and coordinating them, kind of acting like a manager for them within like a school setting or so. So those were the characters, and next we're gonna get to the good, bad, and the ugly. Okay, so let's start with the good. Now, first of all, K-On! Being a comedy-focused anime, obviously you're gonna have to judge it by that metric. And I will say K-On! Is actually pretty funny. And there are different levels to funny, because I've seen shows that have funny moments that might not necessarily make me laugh out loud, but I'll feel a sense of elation. I'll get, okay, like that was humorous, that was funny, but it's not like laugh out loud funny. K-On! Actually has a couple of laugh out loud moments. I think that it actually very much works as a comedy anime, which I think having the ability to make somebody laugh, I'm always impressed with that. You know, obviously it's not as if every episode is just full of those intensely funny moments. But anytime a show can consistently make me laugh out loud and smile and whatnot, I always have to give it extra credit for that. It is a legitimately funny anime. In particular, I think just how a big part of it is kind of surrounds like their whole approach to making music, or lack thereof, and how lazy they can be and irresponsible, and especially characters like Yui. Again, it's definitely a funny anime. I wouldn't say it's as funny as Mitsudomoe. I had to make that comparison because Mitsudomoe is that's my shit as far as like slice of life, cute moe, cute girls doing cute things. Mitsudomoe is on a different level for me, but K-On! Is definitely solid in terms of its comedy. The other thing I like about it too is that it doesn't really take itself too seriously. I gotta be honest, when I first got into this anime, I was expecting, like, I knew it would be funny. I knew it was a slice of life comedy anime, but I thought that because it had this music theme, I thought that they would be very studious, serious practitioners of the arts of sound. And that just wasn't the case. And I was like, when are they gonna have that wake up moment where they finally get serious about making music and working hard? It never comes. It never happened. They really just, I'm watching like, yo, this show is really about these girls eating snacks in the after school club, but that's kind of what I learned to appreciate about it, because I think so often in just about any anime that you watch, especially when there's like a central theme, or a hobby or sport or activity that the characters are involved in, there's always going to come a point, if not from the very beginning, where they're taking it super seriously. You know, you have like just for example, you have a show like Slam Dunk, a basketball anime. You know, initially the main characters get goofy, aloof, not dependable, but over time he begins taking basketball more seriously and he becomes a serious student of the game. And he goes through the ups and downs and the challenges of having to learn how to play basketball. And along that journey, you see his growth. And so that's what I was expecting with K-On! And that moment just never that moment never came. It really is about these girls who are in this club together, this music club, but they don't take it very seriously. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely some episodes where, you know, like there's one episode where they go off to the beach to have a quote unquote intensive training session, and they end up playing on the beach for 90% of it. But they do get a little practice in, but it's like after a while I began to understand that K-On! Is not what I expected it to be. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I found it kind of refreshing to watch an anime for once that didn't take itself so seriously and was like, you know what? It's okay for these girls to just be using this after school music club program as a means to hang out with each other and goof off and eat snacks and gossip and have fun in between classes or after school. And that's what I began to realize was like, it really is more so about their friendship with each other rather than the fact that they're trying to be the best musicians in Japan or something like that. That's really not what it's about. It's more so about their friendship, and the club itself is more of a means to an end, a space that allows them to hang out with each other and just have fun together. But again, still they always manage to do just enough in terms of the songs that they write and practice and perform. They always manage to do just enough to keep the club alive and to entertain their schoolmates when it's time for them to perform. Now let's get to the bad. Now this might sound kind of contradictory, but the bad is also that it doesn't take itself seriously enough. Now, I understand, I got it. It's, you know, you got these girls after school having fun, goofing off, and it gives. But I honestly think it's kind of a missed opportunity as far as how heavy or how far they went in the direction of them just being these, I mean, for lack of a better term, slackers when it comes to music. And what I mean is, I think that they could still not take it super seriously. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there was a missed opportunity in terms of different ways they could have incorporated the science and the art of music into the anime, for fun and jokes, but also for informative purposes as well. You know, there were a few moments in the show where, you know, they might have went into detail about the history of a particular instrument or talked about certain terms in regards to the playing of a guitar or whatever. But I think that the fact that they didn't go harder in that direction was really kind of a missed opportunity. I guess personally, I still would wish that they use the musical aspect of the show more. And it's really more of like the backdrop than what's in the front. And again, that's not a terrible thing, but perhaps they should just made the music or put more emphasis on the musical aspect of it. And I honestly think that it would have been a more balanced, better anime because of it. because as far as its comedy, don't get me wrong, it's solid, but I think they could have maintained that without giving up so much in terms of what they could have done if they had actually taken the music aspect of the show more seriously. But that's really it as far as what I didn't like about it. Now let's get to the scores. So action, it gets a 1 out of 5, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's not an action-focused anime. There's not going to be giant robots and giga drills and kamehamehas and transformations and, you know, that sort of thing. Order, order, order. None of that. It's just strictly focused on, you know, comedy. The plot, I give it a 2 out of 5. There really isn't a strong emphasis on like an interesting plot, really. Each episode... now again, there is a certain level of continuity, but each episode is kind of something within itself. It's just there's some issue or problem, you know, basically how sitcoms work, right? You have these characters in a setting, and each episode there's a new problem or issue that pops up that they have to deal with, and then through the power of friendship, you know, they'll figure out a way to get through it and move on to the next. Animation, I give it a 3 out of 5. I think this came out around like 2009. I did like the animation style overall. I didn't think it was like spectacular, but I think overall, one thing you'll notice with anime sometimes is that there tends to be a certain lack of consistency depending on the show. You'll notice that certain episodes are more well animated than others, or maybe like the first half isn't as well animated as the second half. And one thing I will say about K-On!, I like its art style, but also it was very consistent from beginning to end. As I would describe it as being like good plus, like nice B plus art style and animation, but I really liked it more just for its overall consistency. It has a good art style, but it's consistent all the way through without any significant drops in the quality. The music, I'll give it I would say and again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It, like, you know, for a music anime, there weren't like a lot of tracks that stood out to me. I did like the first opening theme, and you know, the ending theme was okay, but it was overall I just thought like it could have been more. And again, I think this is kind of where they dropped the ball a bit. For a music anime, it's just the music should stand out more, but ultimately I think the music is just kind of just okay. You know, I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Comedy, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was definitely a funny anime, has quite a few laugh out loud moments, and I think that the girls have very nice chemistry that really aids to the end result of creating these moments that will make somebody laugh, because a lot of it comes down to having the right characters with good chemistry based on their personality quirks and whatnot. And I think that they have a very nice balance in terms of the 5 main characters and how they interact with each other to make those funny moments happen. And like I said before, the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously, that definitely aids in that regard as well. Ichi, it gets a 1 out of 5. No real sexual content to speak of in this anime. Overall, I give K-On! A whopping 7 out of 10. I didn't think it was anything necessarily spectacular, but overall I did find it to be a solid slice of life anime experience. If you want to watch something that's gonna maybe brighten up your day a little bit or put you in a good mood, you know, just I guess like how they would describe the club they're in, light music. You know, this K-On! Is light anime. It's lighthearted, fun anime that you don't have to take too seriously. There's not blood, guts, and serious losses and this and that. You know, it really is just something you can put on and maybe you can have it on in the background as you clean up if you've already seen it before. That is, it's just something that has an overall good energy about it. You have it playing in your room, and the overall vibration of the environment just gets better. It's a very positive, lighthearted, fun anime. But overall, I just think that it's just very solid, a solid, good slice of life anime. Right now, Mitsudomo is still the queen of Moe for me. It hasn't been dethroned yet, but I will be watching more Moe slice of life anime in the future to see what else is out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that anime review. I think next I'll be doing either Trigun Stampede, the sort of pseudo Trigun remix, and or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 Golden Wind. I've been obsessed with Golden Wind. I can't even lie. I think I've watched like 20 episodes within the last I might have watched like 20 episodes within the last 2 days. So I think that might be the next one. But hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll be back later with more anime reviews. So, Johnny.